Day one of training camp with pads on is officially under the books. Let's talk about it.
Inside, and a beauty! Hall running free! Breece Hall inside the 10! He's gonna score!
What is going on? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be talking about the first day of training camp with pads on, and I am super excited about this because this is where we're truly going to get a gauge of what to expect from this football team. Obviously, we have week one, and that was just thumping, no pads on, and players were playing and doing all of their things. But once the pads get on, this is where we really can start to break down and digest what we saw from the foundation laid in week one without pads, and what storylines were just happening because the pads weren't on, and what storylines were being covered up from the fact that we didn't have pads on. And so let's talk about it. The first thing that I want to talk about right at the top is probably the story that you guys are most interested in, is the connection between Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson continuing to be everything that New York Jets fans hoped and dreamed that it would be, because that's exactly what it is. It is blossoming into a wonderful, beautiful partnership, and I love every second of it. And it's just so, it feels so nice to be in a situation where we know that our quarterback is fully bought in, but not just that he's a Hall of Fame player who can still play to that level. And it also doesn't help out that Garrett Wilson is really freaking good. And you see that the New York Jets' offense is being elevated, not just because of Aaron Rodgers' play, because of who he is as a person, and really the change in, I guess, his perceived personality or his perceived commitment over the last couple of years. One of the things that we continue to hear from this whole, should the New York Jets really be going after Aaron Rodgers? He doesn't seem to be committed to training camp and to the players and to the coaches and all that stuff. And I always thought and believed at the time that that was just a Green Bay thing. Green Bay burned him, and he wanted to prove them wrong and shut them up without going all out, because why is he going to fully commit himself to a franchise that isn't going to fully commit to him? And I always thought it was something like that. But ever since he came to the New York Jets, all of that has been proven absolutely right and more. Aaron Rodgers is not just taking his responsibilities as a quarterback seriously, but he's taking his responsibility as a leader of the offense, as a mentor, and as a teacher to all of the players on the offense incredibly seriously, going out of his way to have conversations with wide receivers after plays, and not just Garrett Wilson because he's very clearly wide receiver one, or Allen Lazard because he has a history there, but going out of his way to talk to Corey Davis, Jason Brownlee, Xavier Gibson, Malik Taylor, all of these guys, to have conversations, to get out all of the mix-ups, to get out all of the miscommunications, and not getting frustrated with these guys, but really investing his time and his knowledge into these players to ensure that the New York Jets are doing the absolute best that they can possibly do. You even see that with his relationship with Zach Wilson, making sure that he pulls Zach Wilson into the 2-minute drill and into the 4-minute drill so that he can understand how he's going through the huddle and the conversations that he's having, and how he's developing and building up these plays, what he's seeing, to make sure that even Zach Wilson is developing in the right way, who is a guy that technically is competing for the starting job against him, but he doesn't care, because what Aaron Rodgers wants is the betterment of the New York Jets, and that's an incredible thing to see, and you love to see it. Now we're going to continue on the line with the offense, because the offense definitely is still continuing to struggle when it comes to protection and understanding the playbook and getting it implemented at full speed. We got to start talking about the running backs. The running backs are still really lukewarm right now. Now, Israel Abanikanda absolutely broke off a huge home run hitting play towards the end of practice, but there's still no standouts in the running back room, and I think a big chunk of that is the struggles that we're seeing on the offensive line in the starting units, because of all of the rotation and all of the turnover that we've seen. Elijah Vera Tucker coming back from injury, the competition between Connor McGovern and Joe Tippmann at center, the rotation at right tackle of Max Mitchell and Billy Turner, Mekhi Becton not playing football in 2 years, all of that plays a role and plays a part into what we see and what we can expect from the New York Jets this upcoming weeks as we work up building up full speed. With Dwayne Brown still out, Mekhi Becton truly does have a shot at winning the left tackle job, and today didn't really go in his favor, but we do need to remember that he hasn't played football in 2 years, and he's still trying to figure out how much of his knee he can trust, and we kind of got a confirmation of that from the Robert Saleh press conference, where he specifically said, we didn't pull Mekhi Becton because he was performing badly, but more because, one, he's on a snap count, and two, we want to see Carter Warren as well and develop his ability and see what we've got in this kid as well. And that's totally fine, but I'm starting to believe the story that Mekhi Becton doesn't have a shot at playing the right tackle spot, that the right tackle is either going to be Billy Turner or Max Mitchell. I think it should be Max Mitchell. Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic wrote an incredible article about Max Mitchell. If you haven't read it, please go and read it. It really gives you a deep dive and an insight into who Max Mitchell is as a person, but what he went through with that very scary injury at the end of the year last year. But a lot of really interesting things happening in the tackle room. But it's not just the tackles who are struggling. The interior of the offensive line is also struggling. And when you look at our defensive line unit, it makes sense why they're struggling, right? This is arguably one of the deepest defensive line units in the NFL. There are guys on our second team unit that absolutely would be starters for the first team unit on like 20 NFL rosters in like Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson and Al Woods and Quentin Jefferson, depending on how you structure Al Woods and Quentin Jefferson, right? Like, these are guys that probably start at other franchises, and they're backups and they're rotational pieces for the New York Jets, and that's absolutely incredible. Now, one of the things that we definitely need to talk about, and one of the things that we're definitely going to have to watch moving forward, is the offensive line competition. But let's talk about the defense and the absolute domination that we saw from the defense. The cornerbacks continue to shine. Sauce Gardner got the first interception of training camp on Aaron Rodgers. It was definitely a miscommunicated play. A wide receiver ran a wrong route, and so Aaron Rodgers was throwing to what he believed the route was going to be, and so it just sailed right into Sauce Gardner's hands. But that's doesn't take it away. Still an interception, and that's absolutely phenomenal. We love to see that. DJ Reed continuing to build off of last year. It's crazy to think that he's getting better. He is a top 10 corner, in my opinion, in the NFL, and he's still getting better because the plays that we're seeing out of DJ Reed are bigger and better and badder and against better competition continuously and against better quarterback play, and our defense, man, is going to absolutely dominate. Now, the other thing that I think is really, really telling is just how big of a competition we're really going to have on the edge rusher position, because Carl Lawson, Jonathan Franklin Myers, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald are all, I think, legitimately competing for starting reps. Will McDonald got back onto practice today after having tweaked his calf or having a contusion, I believe is what it was in his calf. He was back in practice today and even got a sack, beating Mekhi Becton on a play to get behind the line of scrimmage and get to the quarterback. Jermaine Johnson as well, creating a pressure by blowing up the tackle and getting into the backfield. Carl Lawson getting back-to-back one-on-one beatings on Mekhi Becton to get to the backfield and to create pressure that way. Just absolute dominance from our defense top down, from the linebackers to the safeties to the corners to the defensive line. And you love to see that because that's where our strength is. We always knew that the strength of this football team was going to be in defense, and all we needed was the offense to keep up. Well, now we have an offense that we can feel really comfortable is going to keep up, but also week in and week out is going to have to compete against one of the best defenses in football. So they're going to get better just by going. It's a baptism by fire every single practice when you have to face the New York Jets. And I can't wait to see what happens when we face bad defenses or defenses that aren't nearly as good as the New York Jets. That's all I've got for you this week. A lot of really, really interesting things. What's your favorite storyline to keep track of during training camp? Let me know in the comment section below. And last but never least, go Jets.